my bedroom at 8 o'clock every morning, and her husband went, "What?" She says, "On the wireless, dear." He came to the castle with the Eurovision Song Contest, and they had the pre-night party in the Great Hall at Warwick Castle, and we had to serve canapes and cheap plonk because there was no proper food. And it was all terrible wine, and it got me drunk very, very quickly. And I had to wear my medieval kirtle, which was a green woolen itchy thing with laces up the front, laces down the side, one size fits all, and that hat. I took this hat. I told them I was taking this hat when I left, because I said to them, I said, nobody else should ever have the indignity of wearing this hat. So I'm taking it out the way. So we're serving around canapes and so on and so forth. The deal was you didn't leave, you didn't get to go home until the canapes were all served. So for the 15th time of asking, I went up to Mr. Wogan with his group with a heavy, heavy metal platter piled high with chicken vol au vents, with bechamel sauce that had got a yellow skin over the top by now. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? And I went up and I went, "Look guys, I am so sorry. Put them in your pockets, stick them in the plant pots, feed them to the ducks. I don't care what you do, I really want to go home." Mr. Wogan says to me, he says, "I'll help you, dear." So he went like that with the tray. Knocked the tray up and over our heads. Everybody was covered in flakes of puff pastry, chunks of chicken, and gone off bechamel sauce. It wasn't pleasant. And as it came down and cracked a tile in the floor of the Great Hall, a red marble Venetian tile that was 300 years old, I just went, "You can clean that up and you can pay for it," and all, and I walked off. But I got collared on the way out. They needed somebody to be a real lady's maid and look after the guest singer, and that was Lisa Stansfield. Does anybody remember her? Aye. She may not be a lady, but she's all woman. She's definitely no lady, that one. I looked like Liza Minnelli. I looked beautiful. Black hair stuck down, big black eyes, red lips, white linen trouser suit to die for, girls. Oh yeah, she looked absolutely fabulous, darling. And she came up to me and she goes, "Is there any way I can act fag?" I thought, well, the accent don't go with the look, love, but okay. I says, "Right, come with me." I says, "We'll have to nip outside. You can't have a fag in here." I says, "Because she'll set the sprinklers off." And the Sun newspaper headline the next day would be, "Lisa Stansfield wrecks Warwick Castle with fag." Yeah? So we went outside. I've got my big brown woolen blanket on that was part of my medieval costume. It was horrible, but it was warm. And she stood there dithering and trying to light a fag, and I'm holding my blanket up, and I said, "Oh darling," I said, "you're going to freeze out here." I said, "Do you want to borrow my blanket while you're out here?" Well, I won't say what she said. It's not good in polite company. I said, "Right, madam, you can stay out here, blow you." So I locked the door, shut her outside, and went home. Well, apparently she had to go in through the main entrance because she couldn't get back in any other way, and it chucked it down with rain, and her white linen trouser suit went completely see-through, and that tart was wearing black underwear. Not my favourite person. Right, I know what the reaction to this is going to be. Julie Walters. Right. It's from Smethwick, you know. Well, I can understand every word said. When I come round the castle, we must learn. Because I'm from the country myself, so I know what I was saying. She came up, and all I felt was a tug on my skirt. And I looked round and I went, "Hello, Julie, you all right?" Because if you meet somebody famous that you've seen a lot on the telly, you think you know them. It's ever so weird. You feel very at home with them. And she does look exactly like my mum. And has got the same accent. So I says, "You all right, my love?" She says, "Oh, I'm having a lovely day." I says, "Oh, you enjoy it?" "Oh, it's brilliant, indeed." I says, "Right, where have you been?" "Oh, we've been up the towers and we've been down." "Oh, she says, "Anyway, I've got to go." She says, "Oh, you'll be having another visitor tomorrow." I says, "Well, I know, Julie." I says, "We get about 8,000 a day, love." She says, "Oh, no, you'll know this one." I said, "Will I?" She said, "Well, yes." I says, "Who is it?" She said, "I'm not telling you." And off she went, ran off like a naughty schoolgirl. She was wonderful. The next day, Celia Imrie turned up. You know where we magnificent buns? I stood in her ladyship Parisienne boudoir, in my corsets, having a bit of a mess, like this, and in walks Celia Imrie. She went, "Darling," because she is posh. And I said, know. She said, you are wearing stays, you are sporting stays. I said, I am. She says, I feel your pain. I said, not as much as I do, love. Do us a favour. And she helps get me comfy again. She says, I've just finished filming Gormenghast. Now, this is a long time ago. It's a very dark, black drama. And she plays the Duchess. And she says, I will not be doing another series. I says, why ever not? She says, well, she says, they had me playing the Duchess, wearing corsets, covered by a fat suit, with corsets. I could neither stand nor sit. They had to winch me up and sit me down, she says, and I am not going to be going through that again. I said, oh, fair enough. I said, I don't suppose Victoria Woods is knocking about anywhere, is she? She goes, no, why? I said, well, then I'd have the old Acorn Antiques this better. Very good, she says, and off she went, bless her. So she was lovely. Now, here's one for the lads. I've completely forgotten what I've done in there. Oh dear, Fred Digner. I should have known that I did that really. Fred Digner. He's a naughty little man, he is. He was terrible, he was such a tart. He chatted up anything in a skirt. They'd laid on a lovely, lovely dinner for him, and he brought his snap with him, and he wanted to eat it in the staff room with the workers. Good on him. So anyway, we sat there, and I said, what are you doing then? He said, oh, we're doing Fred's Magnificent Monuments. And it's been on recently, on More 4, I think it was. And he was filmed with a detonator at the bottom of Caesar's Tower. Not good, because that holds up the corner of the castle. And he says, I've got to walk the ramparts, and I've got to find the cedar drawing room. Can you show me where it is? I said, I can, all fine. And anyway, we went in there. The walls are 9 foot thick, and it has cedar panelling all the way around. There is a postcard in there, but I won't pass it around because it's absolutely cool. In that corner over there is a genuine, actual, real-life secret passage, what you would escape from. But you'd be desperate. It was just like Hogwarts. It were absolutely brilliant work in there. You go down there and it'd put you on the wheel. So you'd be desperate to get out there. It's all blocked off now. Anyhow, he's asking my house manager, Janet, about this secret door. And the idea was you used to press on the floorboard and it released the catch. It was proper, it was great. So, our house manager, Janet, used to talk with her hands, big time. And she'd do this, and she'd put hand cream on and lost a wedding ring down her drain by doing this. Now she's got a big charm bracelet with a whopping great Japanese or Chinese, logo on it, which meant everlasting marriage and things like this. But it jingled and it jangled, and you could hear her coming from a mile away. So if you wasn't where you were supposed to be, you could get back quick. Anyhow, she's talking on telly like this, and she's going jingle, jangle, clatter, bang. And they asked her to remove her bracelet, and she wouldn't, because she says, I'm not losing that at all. So with the glamour of television, they sellotaped it to her wrist and pulled her jacket sleeve down over the top of it. So now she's silent. Still doing this, but silent. And Fred's going, so Janet, what can you tell me about this? Because every time he did that, he covered up his lapel mic, and what came out of his words were, so Janet, what can you tell me about this secret passage? Excuse my French. Bug of it. Take 23. And it was a brilliant afternoon, and we had that many crowds in that room watching what they were doing. It was fantastic. So I've met a few famous people. I'm very, very lucky. I could go on forever about them, but I won't. How are we doing for time, darling?
You're okay.
Yeah, a few minutes? Right, okay. Anybody ever had dealings with falconer?
Yeah.
Birds of prey?
Yes.
Where?
Well, when I used to work as Charles Moore House, that's a building in central Coventry, as head of facilities, and we had a problem with pigeons on the roof.
Oh.
So we decided we didn't want to put poison down or anything, so we actually had a falconer to come and fly 2 birds of prey, well, a bird of prey actually, it was a Harris hawk, and they fly up first and let them catch 1 pigeon, and then when it goes up again, all the other pigeons just fly away.
Right.
And land on another building, which wasn't my responsibility.
Yes.
The snap was though that we hadn't realised that where the pigeons' nests were left, there were mites in them, and the next morning we went in, they'd gone onto the desks in the
Oh no.
so we had to have the whole building sort of fumigated at the start.
Oh dear.
But yes, it was fascinating to watch.
They're good, aren't they?
Yeah.
We used to have one come to the castle regular. His name was Kev, and he used to bring his bag of death. And he used to come into the staff room and he used to plonk this bag down in the middle and he'd just be out to eat with jam sandwiches. I won't bother. Rats and mice and chicks and things, you know, hanging out the bottom of his bag. Anyhow, he had all these beautiful birds, the owls, you know, that spun their heads around and so on and so forth. But there was Eric the vulture. And he was as ugly as sin. He really was not a pretty little lad, bless him. In fact, they used to leave his hood on just because it was better to look at him with the hood on. Anyhow, but he was very intelligent and he was one of the stars of the show. So every day during the school during the school holidays, one of the operations team would take Eric to the top of Caesar's Tower, fly him off, he'd do a couple of circuits and land in the middle of the courtyard. Yeah. Not this day. No. The operations team had gone off for his lunch early and I'm just happened to go for mine and they collared me. Now, I don't do things that fly at you. I am in torment at the minute because of all the daddy long legs. I just like Anyhow, Joe, you'll do. Thanks. Lashed Eric to my arm. Told me, and I'll never forget this, when you get to the top of the tower, a spiral staircase that is very worn with a bird that weighs a ton on your arm that's going to eat me on the way up, yeah? When you get to the top, if you make it, they said, you must undo the jesses first and hold them loosely so that he knows he's free to fly. Then you remove the hood. If you remove the hood first, he will try and peck his way free and you will have no arm left. I remember that distinctly. So anyway, I'm a bit nervous. I'm going up this staircase like this, with this whopping great bird. By the time I got to the top, I was exhausted. He was having a lovely time. And I was stroking him and he was nuzzling. He was beautiful, actually. He really was such a gentle soul. Get to the top, he gives the command, release the beast. This doesn't help the situation. So I write, okay, release the beast. I'm standing on wire mesh. I don't like heights either. And I undo these and I'm holding them and I'm right, that's what you look like, okay. Right, off you go then, darling. Off you go. Now they'd said he might not want to go and you have to tickle his bum. Off you go. Off he went. To Stratford. I think I frightened him. And he was gone a good half hour, and the crowds had gathered down below, and they're starting to disperse and lose interest, as you do. And anyway, we get a radio message from the police in Stratford. Have you lost a bird? Only there's a vulture down there, and he's terrorising the French kids and the swans by the river. Oh, it's fine, just leave him. Can you send a van out? What am I going to do with him in a van? Yeah, can you send somebody out to come and fetch him? Anyway, we sent somebody out, and then they radioed back. It's all right, he's just took off, he's heading your way. Look out for a total eclipse of the sun. He's got 1.2 metre wingspan. He was huge. Anyhow, he said, we'll follow him in a police car. So, he comes back in, over the crowd, like this. Look, ladies, look aloft, see the vulture. Keep your hands by your sides, put them in pockets if you have them. Do not wave your hands, he will think you have food and will try and take it from you. Last famous words. In he came, just as an American lady went, hey, come over here. It took her thumb clean off.
Oh my word.
I have never seen anything so swift. I mean, I know that they can take the heads off beasts and rodents and things like that, but it obviously thought it was a worm or something. So anyway, she drops, screaming, her husband fainted. This vulture is now flying over the top of the crowd with his thumb in his beak, dripping blood on people, and the kids going, is he raining, Mum? My instinct kicked in and I went straight down to the medieval kitchen and got medieval frozen peas, because they did have medieval frozen peas. And I thought, right, if we can get him to drop it, we might be able to save this. We've phoned the ambulance already, they're on the way, because they could in them days, bless them. And I'm like, and we're there on our hands and knees in this crowd of people going, drop it, Eric, drop it, have a rat. If he swallowed it, that was it. Anyway, we just emptied the bag of death in front of him. Oh, that was it. Got the thumb, in the ambulance, off we went, 49 stitches, and they managed to reattach her thumb. It was one of the best days I ever had at work, let me tell you. Finally, I mentioned reenactors earlier. Boys with toys, real toys. If you ever work anywhere like that, don't become a first aider. Because I have seen more shin bones and more skulls than I care to mention, with people slipping up steps and cracking their heads over on low doorways. But I had a little bleeper at the time and a radio, and it said, "Joe to the River Island, there's been an incident." And you think, oh my days, because that's where all the reenactors had the jousting tilt yard and what have you, and they played with real swords, real armour and real arrows. And when I got over there was a knight impaled to a tree with an arrow. And I'm thinking, I've been a first aider 2 days. What do? I know, I'll radio our resident medieval archer, whose name was Kevin. There's lots of Kevins. And he says, right, okay, Chick, he says, don't worry, he says, I'm on my way down. Now, Kevin was a ex-para and a paramedic, so it was really useful to know. And he says, whatever happens, he says, don't pull it out. I says, no, I know that. He says, don't break it off. I says, no, I know that. He says, more importantly, never pull an arrow through a wound, because the feathers tickle. He had an American lady, sorry my darling, an American lady come up to him and said, "Excuse me, are you a first aider?" Which, as I say, actually wasn't a thumping good at that. But he was dressed in his full harness of armour. It wasn't a suit of armour back in the day, it was a harness of armour, with his mail shirt, not chain mail. That might win you a point in a pub quiz, you never know. And he'd got his helmet on, and he'd got his quiver and his bow and his broadsword that was bigger than my brolly, and on top of it all, he had his tabard. And this lady said, "Are you a first aider?" And he said, "No, madam, why?" He says, "I'm normally the one that causes the injuries." "Why do you ask?" And she says, "Are you wearing a first aid flag?" He says, "Madam," he says, "this is the cross of St. George, this is the flag of England. Look aloft the tower, see it flutter. Oh, I think you'll find the flag of England is called a lumberjack." Oh no. At which point he drew his sword and he said, "Madam, I'd start running if I was you." And he chased her around the courtyard with his sword drawn, because you could do that in them days. Finally, my last day at the castle, but I thought it was my last day anyway, the wall walkers were coming. These are the people who clean the windows on the outside of the castle above the river. So you can't put scaffold, you can't put ladders and stuff like that. You have to abseil down and clean windows. And they were coming with Shivali, the weather girl. "Joe, how do you fancy being on telly?" I said, "Anything to get out of work for a day. We want you to dangle above the River Avon in your full Victorian gear with a yellow harder and an harness." That showed a lot more than just the ankles, let me tell you. All between your legs. "And clean some of the windows," which I'm terrible at. "And then they'll film it, and then you can come down and have a word with Shefali and what have you." Right, yeah, okay, brilliant. So I'm getting up there and I'm wheeling myself down and I'm cleaning the manager's office window, the big manager. There's a really important meeting happening in there, and I'm hanging outside the window showing far too much. And I'm going, whee, like this outside the window. I'm thinking it's my last day, I really don't care. And all these people going, and the manager refused to turn round because they thought they were winding him up. I came down, had a lovely time. John went absolutely mad, the manager, which pleased me even more. And then Ken came over, he says, "Julie, he says, when do you leave?" I says, "Today." I says, "This is my last day, that's why I wanted to do it." He says, "Oh," just looked at the rotary, he says, "I haven't got you down for this week." He says, "We've got you down as finishing last Friday. You weren't insured to do that and you won't get paid for it neither." I'm like, I'd have died happy, Ken, what can I say? I left that job because my ex-husband told me I needed to get a proper job. After 3 months I've got rid of the husband and gone back to the castle. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know it's a bit of nonsense, but I promise you everything I've told you is absolutely true. Go work anywhere old, just bear in mind all the things I've told you. All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Has anybody got any questions before I thank him?
Yes, my darling.
How did he get the arrow out?
Oh, they undid his armour, Yeah, and then they removed it from the tree. They cut off the back bits, and he went to hospital with a blanket over it, and then we never saw exactly what happened after that. No, but it was a fun story. We had a chat with his face cut in half as well. Through his helmet,
That's awful.
a chink in the armour. I had to hold his face together. They were ugly before, so it didn't really matter.
Well, thank you very much. You've certainly had an eventful career behind the scenes arrangements. I'll go through it. The raw visits, being turned into a waxwork, meeting famous people, and incidents associated with that. The vulture incident, I don't think I'd wanted to do that. So I think we're going to look at tour guides very differently in the future. So thank you very much. Very fascinating talk. Thank you very much.
Is there any more of my plastic bits running around? Yeah. Don't want to film this bit.